Yeah. And there's like this, I think Microsoft and Facebook or something, they teamed up and create Microsoft Teams and virtual worlds and stuff. And I was like, why, like the
Teams.
corporate metaverse was like this weird idea of like being in an endless Zoom call. And I was like, this is the
That
worst
sounds like
idea.
hell.
Yeah, it's like, why do you want to create hell, a virtual hell on Earth?
Oh my god.
That was nuts.
So there's a lot of AI startups at the moment and generative ones based around because AI is so good at generating content. What are some of the ones that you've looked at, and how do you evaluate them, Max? From the good from the bad.
So sadly, it's very easy to build these AI tools. Doesn't matter if they're venture funded or not. But I mean, these AI directories are so full of crap. And I'm usually what I'm trying to evaluate is something like, do they do an interesting use case for me, and how do they do it? Because most of these, and that's like the general hype, most of these startups just try to generate something out of thin air. And it's funny when you do it for the first time and you create yourself like an example PowerPoint about, I don't know, agriculture in Nigeria, and you think like, okay, this is pretty sick. But then if you try to recreate that for your own use case, you realize, okay, it would be much nicer if I could structure it. And how do I get my brand inside? And then you're like, okay, I played around with this for 3 hours. I think if I would have done it manually, I would be done by now. So
Yeah, you get sucked into these things sometimes, and they end up taking infinite amounts of time, and then you sort of give up and do something a bit more manual. But that's another story altogether.
yeah.
What are the challenges for building UXs for these types of AIs, and how's it different to traditional startups technologies?
Yeah, so one thing I realized was like the user experience of most of these startups was just, they try to go full automation. So you give in a little prompt, you tell it what to do, and everything's auto generated. And that's obviously, it could be a huge mistake, because like if the user is not able to fine tune the results, they most likely get a result that's not going to work. Because like in traditional, I would say SaaS or tech startups, we as a product manager of Canva or whatever, we have control of every single pixel. We can do whatever to change. We're going to see the metrics. Everything's cool. Here we have like, and in Gen AI we have an input level. So like users are putting in information that could be either good or bad or inaccurate, right? That's the first failure mode. Then you have these LLMs in the middle, and they are kind of black boxes, and you don't really know what to get out of it. So, and that's where failures can happen. And then obviously in the output, it really depends like how technical how technical is your audience, what's the readability level and stuff. So you lose a lot of control about the user experience. And I think one big mistake people did was just like, okay, let's automate everything. People just upload something and magic happens. Or they write one prompt and the magic happens. And this is really, hasn't, yeah, it didn't work very well. So really like, there's a difference now, and lots of user experience dimensions that we lose control over, and that we need to take into account when designing like these conversational tools or automated tools. And